Meteorologist Casey Cloud here in the Weather Center on this Friday evening with a severe thunderstorm warning in play now for parts of the Albany area until about 8:15. This includes portions there in Georgia, Baker, Doherty, Mitchell, and Worth counties. 60-mile-an-hour winds currently look to be the main threat, but we're seeing kind of a bow on here that is concerning to us here in the Weather Enterprise. And in fact, the Weather Service just giving us an update that the Albany Airport just went with this accent there coming on through, but more of a northwesterly wind really before that bow got there, meaning maybe cooler air up there, which would limit the worst of the wind threat. So maybe the area there in the southern end of that is plowing into a more favorable warm sector, is what they're telling us. So maybe a little more concerned there as we're looking further down in this box on the bow there versus further at the top right in Albany proper. But we'll see. You still got to take precaution there if you're under that severe thunderstorm warning anywhere within that yellow box in our southwestern Georgia and then into Worth County or south central Georgia County there. As we have Newton, Sylvester, Albany, Putney, Baconton, Poole in there, East Albany, the Marine Corps Logistics Base, Turner City, Walker, Terrell, Sumner, Bridgeboro, Minton, Flint, Radium Springs, Lockett Crossing, Sylvester Airport, Anderson City, and South Albany under this warning. See a little bit of lightning there trying to gather here, so maybe just south of the airport possibly. Maybe we're getting some issues to arise there as we have some greens and reds trying to come together, and now is on the storm relative mode. On the regular velocity mode, you can see some brighter reds here indicative of winds that could in theory be getting closer to 60 miles an hour. Nothing that's actually confirmed that. Earlier that we were watching these storms in Alabama, we had a stretch of some warnings out there. Hadn't had any in our covered area yet, but there was even a tornado warning in Alabama, and according to the Weather Service there in Tallahassee, they got some reporting in a little bit earlier on of some issues there. Looks like I'll go ahead and read off their report as I look in here. They're saying that this area here in southeastern Alabama, they ended up getting a sheriff's office report of a tornado on the ground near State Road 87. Looks like WD16 there, which is south of Sampson, Alabama. Can't completely confirm it, but that was some reporting that was coming in here a little while ago as this accident now, as we look live, comes in toward the Albany area. So no tornado warning, thankfully, at this point. I mean, we're kind of a little bit further away on the radar. The Tallahassee one says it's the best here. Based on our software and the actual warning polygon itself for just trying to get an idea of where the winds are. So that's what we're using, but it's still a little bit high up, so it's not able to get the best look at the ground level. But we have this warning right now, so we need to take it seriously here. You see the wind coming right there through parts of maybe Albany, but again, that wind direction shifting on us. There's a chance, just based on new information, that the northern end of the bow is into cool air more than likely, which would suggest maybe not as much of that wind reaching the surface possibly. So we'll continue to watch this here carefully in the Weather Center, but maybe more of a threat toward Putney or areas there as we look on State Route 300, just south of Albany. I mean, maybe as we look in here, areas there closer to Radium Springs, there could be some type of threat in there. The greens and reds look a little bit tighter, which could indicate some rotation possibly. But again, it's right on the edge there of some different things. So we may get something to come together here, we may not. As we're now getting word from the Storm Prediction Center, they just sent out a mesoscale discussion now. I know our air mass here down to the south would seemingly be a little more favorable. A slight risk includes Tallahassee. It does not include Albany here for that severe potential here as we look ahead in the timeline. We do have some significant tornado parameters down here in the Big Bend region, and the instability values, well, they not kind of edge up on there in toward that area as well. So we got to be kind of cognizant of that here as we do look at things. And I'll go ahead and read off what they just sent us here at the Storm Prediction Center. They're saying locally damaging gusts and or a brief tornado remain possible this evening toward that especially blue circled area. Watch issuance right now is considered unlikely at this point, but at about 7:30, since convection is ongoing from southwest Georgia, they're saying here into the northern Gulf of Mexico in association with a cold front. I know we're getting technical here, but sometimes folks like that, so I'm going to kind of read this off here a little bit longer as the front and outflow is tending to undercut the convection across the northern Florida panhandle where the line is oriented southwest to northeast. However, the storm cluster over the northern Gulf of Mexico here as we kind of move the map over a little bit more now, it looks like we're talking about maybe that more north to south orientation, which should prevent frontal undercutting in the near term. And downstream of this, we're seeing there areas from Panama City to Apalachicola, modest diurnal heating of a moist environment, which is resulting in those energy values increasing at 500 to 1,000 joules per kilogram range there, and the weak mid-level lapse rates will continue to limit updraft intensity, but with favorable low-level and deep layer shear in place, they're saying, as noted in one of the VWP profiles here, some threat for locally damaging gust here and or brief tornado may materialize as the convection moves onshore there. So if any small discrete cells forming ahead of the line can mature into supercells, this may pose a brief tornado threat as well, though the scenario is weather uncertain at this time. So we'll continue to watch this. I know they're saying it's relatively limited in magnitude, and the aerial coverage here would render the watch issuance unlikely here at this point. So that's the storyline for that blue circled area. But the place we actually have a warning right now in play is the yellow box to the north. Again, not quite as favorable up here, but we mentioned it early this morning there that there was a threat of severe weather just to get you guys prepared. We mentioned it back on Tuesday in our formal update as well. So I know we didn't have an update last night. We were off there, but on this St. Patrick's Day night, we do have a severe thunderstorm warning in play right now for parts of Doherty, Baker, Mitchell, and Worth counties until 8:15. Also, we're going to be watching some rain around lingering tomorrow, and then as we look here, it's looking like maybe not as much of that precip around for Tuesday now. I know that's something that's kind of a change here from our previous outlook. So just a heads up, Tuesday might not be as wet as we were first thinking here locally. So early heads up there, but could have wet conditions here lingering tomorrow. But the severe threat as we get further east should drop off. That's the good news, as we're now getting some updates from the Weather Service. Let me go ahead and go back on over to the broad view here. We'll go ahead and go back to the broad view. They're saying they want to keep an eye on a persistent rotating cell 33 miles southwest of Inlet Beach. It's moving northeast around 30 miles an hour, so it's about an hour out from land if it makes it that far. So we'll just continue to watch as we're also getting an update from a spotter, it looks like there. As we're getting up there, it looks like in north-southwestern Georgia that is core there. So that's kind of indicative of the overall environment. We're getting these storms to not be able to be in the more mature setup form to mature as we're looking at things here further up toward the north, which would limit, in theory, some of that severe potential getting to the surface. So we'll see if we get any reports, but right now, nothing too concerning here based on the latest information we're getting in from the Weather Service. Again, down to the south, we have the yellow area, which is for mainly that wind potential there. That's what the slight risk is technically for. Now, the tornado threat here in the green, that would be more marginal in nature as we're looking to the south. So that's kind of the storyline there. You can see parts of southeast Alabama have been included now, but at this point, that threat's starting to wind down there. But you see southwest Georgia toward Donaldsonville and Bainbridge will still watch for you guys. We're still watching things here off toward Mariana. Things can change quick here. I know this is not an overwhelming threat. We did not turn to low or red. It's not to that type of concern. But we're still here with you guys just in case and making sure things are okay. So again, the information I'm getting right now is that maybe things aren't as bad as they could be here. At first, we're seeing those potentials that are set up in the radar echoes, and just enough of that potential there in a more populated area. We thought we would jump in here with you guys, but at this point, the information we're getting is better. But we want to get more from the Weather Service to see if they go ahead and drop the warning. It's not at all clear by any stretch. You're still getting some nasty weather and still potentially dangerous weather around Albany at this point. So getting some of that there as we look from Putney up toward Albany, some heavy downpours and some gusty winds. It's just a matter of if there's severe winds or not, or if they're kind of just more in that strong range that would be still maybe causing an isolated power outage here or there, but nothing too extreme. The reason this warning was issued, that bow, though, is pretty definitive. That was another reason I wanted to come on, because that bow is really, kind of dramatic looking here in some ways, the way it is developed here over the last little bit and coming through. We just want to make sure that folks are staying safe. As we still have this warning in play toward Acre, towards Sylvester here. Areas like Bridgeboro even still under this warning as well. So we'll just continue to watch. You see the community of Gordy there in Worth County. There's some lightning, though, in Doherty County lightning. I mean, you don't have to have stuff to be in that warmer air mass to have lightning danger and potentially get struck by lightning here at about that sunset time. So gotta be careful out there if you're out and about here. So it's 7:54. Let me go ahead and go back on over right now to other look at things. If you're wondering from Stark, Gainesville, things are fine right now. And that's the good news. Things are looking okay over here. Eventually we'll get some storms. At this point, they're not expected to become severe, but we'll be here in the Weather Center just in case they become severe or tornadic for whatever reason. The chance there really isn't being listed. It's not high. It is on the very low end, but in some ways it's not completely zero here. I mean, we're warm enough, but under the dew-point values here, kind of so that they're more limited here at this point with the less moisture around. So those conditions more limited. You can see we've got a yellow box to update on us there. Severe thunderstorms at 7:54. Located along the line extending from near Turner City, near Putney, to near Baconton, and near Newton, moving east at 45 miles an hour. So Newton, Sylvester, Albany, Putney, Baconton here, East Albany, the Marine Corps Logistics Base, Turner City, Terrell there, Sumner, Bridgeboro, Minton, Flint, Radium Springs, Lockett Crossing, Sylvester Airport, Anderson City, South Albany, and Tempe under this warning. Let's see what else we have for you guys right now. I think I want to pull up some of our model guidance. Let's take off some of the current information. Then I may leave the warning up for now just to kind of help us out here as a guide on what is currently happening here with this threat. But let's get to about 8 o'clock with the model. See how it's handling things here. And oh wow, it is way behind. I mean, if I'm doing my time conversions right, I know the time changed this week, but yeah, that's supposed to be 8 o'clock, and our storms are already into that yellow box. So things are not quite as the model's forecasted there. So that could kind of change the overall setup, make it stuff in a little bit earlier. We'll see. It's tricky though. It's very tricky here trying to pin stuff down here in this setup. But I mean, this is what it's supposed to be at 8 o'clock. But really, I mean, we already have the radar looking like that in some areas of that view. I mean, other areas not as much, but I mean, that's supposed to be as we get out there toward 10 o'clock. And I mean, to the north it's about light, but to the south it's setting up a little bit heavier toward the panhandle. So we'll have to see how things kind of develop on us again. This is supposed to be 11 o'clock here, midnight, 1 o'clock. I mean, that gets you out of 2 o'clock, 3 o'clock, 4 o'clock, 5 o'clock. 6 o'clock there in the morning, 7 o'clock, 8 o'clock, so 9 o'clock, you kind of get the idea. We'll see what happens. We'll continue to watch things, obviously, here in the Weather Center, but let's get back on over to the radar right now. You can see here we have the severe thunderstorm warning with that bow. I mean, it's really surging ahead. I would think this would weaken out. I've seen these patterns about this time last year. We had something in Georgia where it kind of eventually get too far out. I mean, it was a Friday, I believe, of the first round of the tournament. We had a situation where stuff looked kind of nasty at first, but then it would just kind of outrun things. And I feel like this, to the north at least, would outrun things here based on the forecast and based on just the overall setup that we're dealing with the parameters. But to the south, again, we have a little more concern in theory. Again, nothing overwhelming, but things can change quickly. We may have had a tornado touchdown earlier pretty quick there in southeast Alabama. So that's outside of our area, but nonetheless, you just want to be kind of watching things here in the Weather Center as we see this storminess here, this setup as we get up towards Sylvester there in Worth County. We're looking toward the community of Sylvester there. Looking right now, if you're traveling along US 82, you're kind of getting into that there. If you're taking that road there between Tipton and Albany, or Sylvester and Albany, you were running into some of that accident there if you're in that part of it. So just got to be careful out there. I know been through storms in this part of the state before, so got to be careful here. You got to be careful on that roadway right now. Take it easy as you're around Acre. That looks like to be some of the worst of it. Also, looking there west of Bridgeboro and even here north of Camilla, maybe some wind energy a possibility. As we're looking at some more action right now in a broad perspective. Maybe some type of rotating action there toward areas there in the Gulf of Mexico. Let's see on a rotation tracker. Talked about some of that action, but we're getting word from a ham radio operator. They think there might be something else down here. It may be better on the other view than this. It's not showing up all that great, but there do look to be some characteristics here that are a little bit concerning. Nothing, again, overwhelming, but I mean, our logo's not red here. It is blue because it's a lower end threat, but it's not a zero threat, and that's why we're here. We do have some areas where greens and reds are trying to come together. Again, I don't see anything too nasty right now, which is definitely some good news, but we'll just continue to watch here, continue to monitor the situation. I know you have that green area near the coast, or that's the coastal flood advisory. We had that in our open there, per se, as we were leading up to coming on in. I had that in the corner, and that's because it's the overall setup that we're dealing with. I mean, those nasty conditions there in some of these coastal areas you gotta be aware of here. And for what it's worth, we actually have cooler air here coming on in, especially to the north. I mean, we have freeze watches for Atlanta, LaGrange, Columbus, Georgia. We're gonna have some cool air back again. It's kind of a roller coaster pattern, maybe not a freeze necessarily toward our region here, but I mean, the forecast for Albany is for temperatures there to be in the mid-30s tomorrow night, and maybe a freeze Sunday night. As we look here a little bit deeper, I mean, it's right at 32 in the forecast. So it's conceivable some of our far northwestern counties might get something there. We'll have to watch that for that, but I'm talking about towards Stark at least, and north central Florida would probably stay above freezing here in the general sense. There's always the core spots like where we're at east of Stark, but in general, we should stay mainly in our north central Florida counties above freezing here. We cover 62 counties. You can get that map there, cloudweather.com / looks like live there. So coastal flood advisory details though, you can see that's that green area on the screen. That's because we have these overall conditions where the main concern will be the high tide cycle late this evening. A high tide, we're talking about maybe a little bit of coastal inundation with the shoreline there. Nothing maybe overwhelming, but we'll continue to watch. We'll continue to track that here. I know there's pressures. Let's get an update on those. There's barometric pressures right now. Talking about 1,011 around Tallahassee, toward Albany 1,011, Blakely 1,011 millibars. So you kind of get the idea. It's nothing really deep, but it is a little bit down there if you guys really follow the barometers. But I see that one storm there off east of Fort Walton Beach that has an interesting look to it anyway. Let's see what the rotation looks like there. I want to focus on it. It's weak, it's broad. To the north there, we have a little bit of something too, but that's not in the right spot to the north. It's nothing overwhelming, especially for over the Gulf of Mexico. We've seen a lot tighter there, and it'll fall apart as it comes on shore. So to make sure we don't have a reverse here on this. But and they're talking about different things that bear watching for sure, but a slow weakening trend on some of this stuff. So that's what we like to hear. I know we've been backing things up. In fact, I know I switched radars here, and I'm going to go back real quick since I have this up. This is a view earlier where we had a tornado warning since it's in here from when I had the radar up for this area. This is earlier, guys. You see the rotation. This is around 4:30 Central Time. We've had a tornado touch down here on Sampson, Alabama. This is earlier, so you guys know what I'm looking at. You have that little notch there. This is out there toward areas outside of the viewing area, of course. We weren't on for it because it's outside the area, but we retweeted the information on Twitter at CloudCasey as soon as that came out from the Weather Service in Tallahassee. It also came across because we cover on that Twitter account at least at Cloud_WX to Tallahassee and Jacksonville jurisdictions. All the different counties automatically come on up in there. So it's a helpful source if you live in some of those. But this is earlier. Sampson, Alabama there in Geneva County may have had a tornado touchdown based on some information. I haven't seen damage reports necessarily, but again, police did report some of that. Sheriff's Office officials apparently reporting some of that. So I see there's some power outages in the state of Florida. Let's see what those are from. So interesting number in Okaloosa County. I don't think that's because of the storms here necessarily. It could be though, because we did have some of this action there come on through earlier on, but I'm back on the current radar view on velocity, by the way. But I'm just looking at some different things here behind the scenes. There's 14,900 customers listed in the dark, but I know back on Sunday night we had a bunch and played them real quick. Then it went down on us there. Those were verified based on the information I was getting there, and I got after the fact. A bunch of people lost power, but only for a short bit. So you can be interested to hear what happened out there. If something maybe just happened one site and knocked more people out than you would generally expect there in Okaloosa County. But that's a pretty big number. I mean, they do have 116,199 customers tracked there, but 14,900 in the dark. Looking at some different numbers here. We'll look in Georgia, obviously, see if there's any outages around Albany, Dougherty County there. None listed right now. Lee County, Worth County, I'm not seeing any as the latest numbers that are being tracked here. So we'll keep an eye on things here in the Weather Center. We're definitely watching things here for you guys. It's about protecting you, your friends, and your family. But we're planning on wrapping this up here pretty soon if I see the trends that I'm seeing right now continue. But I will probably stick with it at least until we get an update on this warning. Make sure we don't get an extension of it there toward Tifton, areas toward I-75. We want to make sure you guys are staying safe here. But we'll come on for the severe thunderstorm warnings here, if necessary, of course. All tornado warnings out for any one of our 62 counties. Any tornado warning storm to move through will be on for you guys. But if just severe thunderstorm warning will generally be on, but we'll use our discretion here if something is not looking like it's in a more populated area, or maybe if it's just looking overall pretty weak here. Then we may just post about it there on Facebook, on Twitter there. So just so you guys know, if you're watching like on YouTube, you can check that out. If we're seeing something that's in maybe a rural area that's weak, or I mean, if something's really strong looking, we'll come on for it no matter where it is in our area. If it's really obvious, off the charts here, unless maybe the Okefenokee is the one that's under the thunderstorm warning or something like that. But in general, we'll be here for you guys here based on everything that we're seeing. If it's really a threat, we'll be here for you, give you guys the latest information. So, again, you can see Sylvester there in Worth County. We're going to keep watching things, keep tracking things. I just don't see a lot right now, to be quite honest. When we go up a little bit higher, you see it. But then I go back down here on base velocity, maybe gusts to 50 if we're in the right area there with the warmer air, letting that come down to the surface. But if not, I mean, those winds probably wouldn't begin to that degree there in the 60 range, maybe 40, 50 there instead. And that would seem more likely based on everything I'm seeing. Now, we got to watch stuff to the south, though. As we've talked about, we have little areas of rotation, and maybe you could call them here Seminole and Decatur counties. Nothing too tight right now, but we'll keep watching. This is off the Tallahassee radar view, so that's a good enough view of it. Let's look down here to see if anything pops out. See a little bit of areas there of rotating greens and reds trying to come together, but nothing tight enough for any elevated level of concern at this point. But we're going to keep watching, keep tracking things for you guys here in the Weather Center. 1 hour rainfall. See some of those green areas still in about an inch or so, the dark green. So that's kind of the storyline there. Again, the lightning there moving closer to Sylvester right now, Worth County. You can see here we have that wind, these lighter areas that are red indicating close to 50. And we're now getting an update, by the way. Sometimes they don't show up immediately on the aggregate map there, PowerOutage.us. But Andrew here there with the Weather Service in Tallahassee saying the Mitchell County EMC power outage map is now showing roughly 1,000 power outages. About 1,000 customers, I would think, is what that would indicate, in 2 clusters north of Newton and southeast of Putney. So just to pass that along to you guys, that could be what's reaching down to the surface with those winds. I mean, with this bow here, that might be enough for them to issue a new warning downstream. We'll see. Again, it's kind of tricky here because the way we're looking at things, it's depending on if we have the more favorable air mass or not. Because this stuff otherwise may not get down to the surface. As I look at our debris tracker, we're not seeing anything really there standing out. But even though it looks like the worst of this may be more towards Sylvester on this mode, maybe further down toward the south. We'll just have to watch here. North of Newton, southeast of Putney. We'll just have to see exactly what's going on here. There's Putney. And then we're just going to look toward the south there. There's Newton for reference there. So you guys know the general area that's being impacted here as we continue to give you guys the very latest information here to protect you, your friends, and your family. So again, backing this up, there's your bow. That's about 741 there, the radar view. You see it progressing there. Again, maybe it's this area right here down to the south as we zoom on in, maybe causing more of an issue here with the winds actually being able to reach down to the surface. So we're just going to keep watching all the different radar trends here. I'm checking some different things here in the Weather Center right now, seeing what's going on, making sure you guys know what's happening for sure. And we're just going to see what the latest updates tell me. I don't see anything new here in the last few seconds, but that could always change. You know, FSC baseball got moved up early for these storms here just to get out of the way in time for them to come to Tallahassee. I'll go ahead and zoom back out to the broad radar perspective for that. The Noles getting a win there in Leon County against Boston College. Impressive win there for sure. 4 Seminole fans out there, including me. So, again, grand slam, one of those innings there, mini runs, that same inning. So, really impressive. But, again, we're just going to go ahead and keep checking things here. You see the lightning. I know it's St. Patrick's Day night. So some folks, and also March Madness going on, so a lot of people might be out and about. So, got to be kind of careful here. Make sure you take it easy on the road. You don't need severe weather to have accidents here, unfortunately, on the area roads. So keep that in mind here as we look at things. And in fact, on that note, since we're still waiting for an update from the Weather Service, let me go ahead and see what we have here in terms of some of this traffic cameras. I know being told here in our YouTube chat, it has been real windy in North Florida, definitely getting some of those winds to pick up even here in Bradford County. I had a gust on anemometer earlier to 17 miles an hour as we were looking back there in the timeline. But I think we'll go ahead and pull up our Florida 511 camera perspective just to see how things look on the roads here. It's a little after sunset now, but see how the slowdowns look here. We're now being told here of something new in the chat. So let's see. There's a new tightening rotation just south of Blue Mountain Beach. So I need to watch closely for a warning there. Move east there. Onshore of Blue Mountain Beach. So, just so you guys know, let's see what we have on rotation tracker. It might be out of our viewing area. I'm not 100% sure. I'm pretty sure that would definitely be out of our area here at this point, but I'm not 100% sure what Blue Mountain Beach is, but it's probably, yeah, okay, I see what they're talking about. This is way out there. This is way out there. This is that area right here, I would think. Yeah, there we go. There's Blue Mountain Beach now. As we zoom in real tight. The greens and reds trying to come together. It's not really impressive, but maybe a water spout trying to hit the beach while people are on spring break. That could be problematic here. People out there just past sunset or right at sunset here, that general range, as we're looking further out. So, in toward those western areas. Sun goes down a little bit later, but not that much later as we look at things. So keep that in mind. It would not stay on for this, by the way. We would not stay on for this here at this point because this is pretty far outside of our area. I mean, for perspective, this is Panama City Beach to the east. We got to watch for stuff like this later on, but you can see the greens and reds trying to come together here. I was referencing the traffic cameras a minute ago, so let me see what we have in terms of those. It's pretty nasty out there, some of these different views, so let me see what I can get together here. It's getting really dark out there now, but in terms of some of these, but you'll be able to see at least the slick roads here on this one, slick surfaces as we go out there toward I-10, mile marker 157, that range there. You'll kind of get an idea of what's going on that perspective here in about 2 seconds. Here you go. You can see what we're talking about there. Again, giving you guys an idea of what's going on out there. So just kind of giving you that first glance. I'll pop it back up here in just a second. Let me go ahead and give you guys an idea of what our radar is showing here in that area. Again, as I get further up toward I-10. Nothing severe there right now, but we just have the storms around. So you guys might be kind of concerned about that. And again, wet roads is what we were leading up to there. That can just be a problem altogether in these type of situations. I mean, you got to be careful here with these wet roads here. I mean, no matter if you have severe weather or not. So another perspective there. Again, just continuing to give you guys the latest here at 8:12 on this Friday night. You can see what's happening there as we try to give you the best view as we possibly can. So you can just see there maybe some of those oils there on the roads possibly could cause people to have issues. So just something to be mindful of here for sure in the weather centers. You see some of these vehicles will be taking a little bit slower because of the overall weather conditions here. So getting some new information into the chat session right now, I think that might be important to pass along. So let me go ahead and go back to the other view here now. We'll move away from the traffic camera perspective. Again, let me go ahead and see what we have here on this view. We're being told now that maybe about 1 to 2 hours away that the line could be coming into the Tallahassee area now, but there's a chance to weaken slightly with the overall coverage decreasing as it approaches areas there in central Leon County. However, some showers may continue to build behind the main line to the evening, so may end up having the cool air come in on that is what generally I'd be referring to here. So that's something to just kind of keep in mind. You just want to be kind of watching that. That would probably decrease that severe threat, which would be good. And also that storm there is weakening there, maybe, perhaps, just a bit offshore Blue Mountain Beach, but it has not increased, at least the rotation. So no warning is imminent with the cloud tops cooling and satellite and other factors like lightning suggest there, though, that the cell could be gradually strengthening. So kind of some contrasting news here. Strengthening cell, but weakening rotation there is what they're trying to tell us. I mean, but that's the good news, at least for the time being, in terms of maybe a tornado. But you do see the Greenton region a more broad pattern now. Maybe we get a severe thunderstorm warning down toward that area with that type of wind pattern as we look down toward the Seagrove Beach area. Again, this is way outside of our area, though, and we're just staying on right now until we get word of that warning being dropped. It's 8:15. The warning in the north just went away. So let's see here. Let's go to the broad perspective. I'll go to our other view here. If this warning continues to be off our screen and we don't get a new one issued here, is what I'm trying to say. Over the next few moments, we'll go ahead and wrap up the coverage. I know, let me go ahead and just remind you guys of all the different platforms we're on here. Facebook, KC Cloud WX, and Cloud Weather. Twitter at Cloud Casey there. We have YouTube at Cloud Weather. You can subscribe there. It's free. You don't have to do anything, but just hit that. If you have a Google account there, free Google account, just hit subscribe, and you'll be able to get to these videos maybe in a little bit easier there. So that's a good way to show support here for the channel. And then you can also hit that bell icon to be notified of the coverage here. And then you have Twitch there, Cloud Weather, and the website cloudweather.com. So just let you guys know there of all our different outlets here. And you have the interactive radar at cloudweather.com/radar. That's kind of good for you guys to get an idea on things. And then some of the SPC outlook details and even tornado safety tips. The enhanced Vegeta scale there for tornadoes available at the cloudweather.com/severe tab there. And just as we continue to look at different things here, there's weather alerts that are coming on through here at this point at Cloudweather on that website. You can get that there at cloud_WX. So that's on Twitter. So just so you guys know about all that stuff. It looks like they're going to go with a significant weather advisory now for parts of Ben Hill, Colquitt, Irwin, Mitchell, Tip, Turner, and Worth. So that's below severe limits. We're going to wrap it up unless we get some new information here. 50-mile-an-hour winds, Tipton, Aspen, Ocilla, Fitzgerald, Sylvester there. You kind of get the idea. Moving east at 45 miles an hour. Still could knock down some tree limbs and blow around some unsecured objects, according to the Weather Center. So may want to go inside still, obviously, with the lightning, with that type of wind. You should go inside here. But we're not talking about maybe widespread issues here. We could have like trees falling and power lines falling in a widespread sense here at this point. Doesn't mean we couldn't have isolated issues of that, though. So that's why it's still good to go inside, obviously. In these type of situations. I know the magnitude from 60 to 50 doesn't sound like a lot, but it's the threshold for more power outages, more damage here. But you could still have some. It could still be dangerous to be outside. You shouldn't be outside here at night in this type of setup here with even strong thunderstorms or any type of thunderstorms coming through. Whenever you hear that rumble of thunder, that means you need to be inside, of course. So whenever thunder roars, go indoors. So that's going to do it for now. We need to come back along with you guys for another warning. We'll do so. But otherwise, have a great weekend out there. Happy St. Patrick's Day. We'll be here if necessary. But otherwise, just enjoy things here the best you can. Some spring breaks coming to an end here. And if they are for you, just kind of make the most of the last little bit. Some folks still maybe high schools here toward areas in north central Florida. Some of those secondary schools there, like middle and even the primary elementary schools there. You can maybe start that spring break next week, and it's just getting going tonight. So, depending on where you're at there in general. So, enjoy that the best you can as well. So, thanks so much, and I'll see you guys around the corner.